3 o'clock on a Friday. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Glad to be back after a couple of days away. It was nice up in our nation's capital and right across the border in College Park, Maryland, as we celebrated my oldest daughter getting a dual master's degree. I'm very proud of her. She's off to her first real job. So there's that. I can move her off the payroll.
For now.
Yeah, but I think she's good, man.
I think she's got it.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's good. She's ready to go. She's ready to go. But no, we had a nice time up there, and appreciate all that Elijah always does, but especially when I am away. And luckily, nothing local seems to be problematic.
No, nothing. No, it was a very controversy-less 2 days.
Boy. We will get a lot into what our very good friend John Whittle has published at thebigspur.com as it relates to what was, well, I suppose it is a literal truth, isn't it? The worst season in South Carolina baseball history.
I have a hard time going. When I went back and looked at previous seasons to try to find one worse, in terms of just raw win totals, you'd have to go back to when college baseball was first being played, and they only played like 10 games.
Yeah. Certainly in the modern era, and certainly in the Southeastern Conference era of this very proud program. And John got into a lot of detail on what's going on. And as I mentioned to Terry just now, for those of you who are not subscribers to the Big Spur, I was informed this morning that they will be making that available for free. And if I understood correctly, it may well be on the Big Spurs Facebook page as opposed to their website. You may want to go to their website and see if there's a link or whatever. So don't hold me too tightly to that. But I was told that it would be made available because the folks over there, John and JC and Hale and the guys, all believed that this was something that needed to be shared. You know, I mean, I get that you want to give your subscribers the first opportunity, but maybe this was bigger than that. And I think it has quite quickly, he tried to say, turned into, maybe an even bigger story. And I had someone yesterday tell me, because again, I was in the airport yesterday in Washington, and they said, well, however bad you think it might be, it's probably worse in terms of some of the things that John put out there. And before we get into it, into a lot of detail, I want to say something from my own perspective so I can just kind of set this tone. And I'm very sincere when I say this. I think John Whittle is truly one of the finest people I have ever met, period. He is also one of the hardest workers I've ever met in our business. He is a tireless, dedicated beat writer. And I only worked the beat for a little bit, and I didn't travel like John ever did or some of these guys do. And I've been a talk show host now for 23 years. John's dedication to his craft is at the top of the list, man. And that's not to say that others aren't. I love David Cloninger. I've known David for so long. And even whether it's younger guys now like Jack and Jordan, a beat writer's life is tough. It's a 7-day job for a good stretch of the year. You're on call a lot for breaking news. But in terms of John Whittle specifically, the reason I want to tell you guys this is so that you'll understand, I think, where John comes from. And I won't speak too much for John. He can handle that. He doesn't need me to say this, nor am I saying this in any type of defense. Let me make that abundantly clear, too. John is just so well connected to that baseball program. And we've said for years and years, and many of you already know this, all right? You've heard us talk about this. I only half joke sometimes when I say things like, maybe the only person in the last couple of decades that knows more about Carolina baseball is Ray Tanner. And you know what? There might be times when, depending on who's like doing the testing or quizzing, John might win. And so I know that when he does what he does in and around South Carolina's baseball program, it comes from a place of genuine high-level expertise and connection. And I think most understand that. Some may not know as much about John or know what he does. And, if you're newer to town or anything like that, but I have, and I know you do too, and you've been here 3 years, and I know it probably took you one or two times to meet and be around John to go, dang, he's just a good dude.
Very quickly,
you know,
immediately.
But now, like just straight up. I mean, he's awesome. I love John Whittle. He is awesome. And so I want to preface everything we're going to say by telling you, my audience, because my co-host already knows, that when we talk about this, I have the utmost confidence in John's reporting. And now we get into the meat of this. Elijah, I didn't get a chance to fully read it until I got home last night. I got back to Columbia. I called you on my way home from the airport. In fact, it was funny. I'm driving down Knox Abbott and across the bridge, and that's when I called Elijah. It was nearly 8 o'clock. And I was like, hey, I didn't mean to call you this late. It's not late, but I don't like to call people after work if I can help. But I was driving. I saw the ballpark off to my right, and I'm like, you know what? Let me call him real quick and just see how the show went or see what some of the reaction has been. So I didn't get to read it fully until I got home. And then I read it again. I was blown away because you can see the results of the season and know it was a bad season. And I heard some things here and there. But I think when something is put in front of you with such detail, it doesn't necessarily, change your perspective. I think it deepens your perspective. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yes, certainly.
And whether it was, something that seems innocuous, like Paul was mad at the team after the loss to Kentucky, the series loss, Game 3, and he didn't let them shower or whatever before they got on the bus and then onto a plane or something. They had to change somewhere other than a locker room.
The outfield parking lot is what it read.
Like, okay. And I had somebody tell me this morning, it's probably not the first time that a coach has done something like that. It's probably not. I'm not sure what good that does, whether it was last month, last year, last decade. I'm not really sure what message that's really sending, but whatever. Okay, so there's that. Ethan Petrie reading a printed scouting report on the dugout bench and having that ripped out of his hands, crumpled up and thrown away. Why? That doesn't make sense to me. What's wrong? I mean, what's wrong with a scouting report? And if I told you this morning, I don't have to tell any of you listening right now what kind of baseball player Ethan Petrie is and the kind of potential that he has. If I can mix incredible natural talent plus the desire to play hard like Ethan has and enhance it with a scouting report of the opponent, isn't that a very good thing?
Don't you want more of that?
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand with trashing the track man, which I focused on a lot yesterday. Like, don't you want all the information readily available to be prepared for your opponents and to be able to understand the things you're not doing very well?
For those who were ready for Mark Kingston to leave, I get it. But that's part of what Mark went to Ray with a few years ago. Like, hey, because Mark was very analytically driven as a head coach. And we've heard a lot about what Tom Walter has up in Winston-Salem with Wake Forest, the pitching lab and a lot of other things. And the reason that Wake Forest is as good as they are in a league that includes big schools and programs like North Carolina and Florida State and Miami and Clemson and Virginia is because Tom gets the most out of his guys because he's not going to get those big, giant studs that, again, a North Carolina, a Florida State, or a Clemson can more routinely get through the recruiting process. And so he does all he can to maximize their talent and their ability. And South Carolina, in a lot of ways, has had to do that through the years. You know, I mean, yeah, you've had Christian Walker and Matt Price and Sam Dyson and some guys that were just natural talents, right? But you also had diamonds in the rough like Jackie Bradley. You also had guys that were just scrappy like Adrian Morales and Scott Wingo. You had Whit Merrifield, who had a great family tie to the sport. But Whit really developed here at South Carolina to ultimately become a guy who was earning 8 figures in the major leagues. And South Carolina, y'all, as great as a program as it's been through the years, is never going to be Texas. It's never going to be LSU when it comes to resources, when it comes to competition for players and things like that. South Carolina is almost always going to have to do more with less from that perspective. And so development becomes key. Look at what Shane and his team are doing right now. Development is crucial here. And every bit of information that you can have at your fingertips should be utilized. And South Carolina invested heavily in some of the analytics. And then to hear that you just don't want to use them? Why?
Or have people on the staff or on payroll who excel in that type of field and not allowing players to talk to them?
I mean, that was one thing. John made a point that, and again, hopefully there will be response, by the way. As we talk about these things, you would like to hear a rebuttal of sorts. But in one of these cases, John made a point that Carolina's analytics director was being kind of ignored by the head coach and the pitching coach, and that oftentimes when the pitching coach was gone out on recruiting trips, because he's also the recruiting coordinator, not that anybody can't go recruit, then the guys would line up and want to talk to him. They want his input. Why shun that? I mean, the more the merrier. Is he doing something that runs counter to anything you teach? If so, then instruct a guy like that. Hey, let's try to hone in on this or that.
Meet with them and go over that type of stuff.
But to just not utilize the systems in place seems counterproductive. And John also, by the way, points out statistically how South Carolina hitters and pitchers went down statistically by and large. And I think the results speak for themselves. Remember, y'all, again, you might have wanted Mark to be gone. That's fine. Not here to defend Mark. But in 2023, South Carolina baseball was a 1 seed and hosted. In 2024, South Carolina was on track for a 1 seed, ended up being a 2 seed. This year, they won 6 conference games. I mean, the program was not in dire straits. It is now. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Again, it's not all at Paul's feet, not all at Terry's feet. But John really lays it out. We'll get into more of it, but for those who have read it, I would like you to interact with us today. Text line, phone line, 803-404-6100. How much did some of this stun you, surprise you? Did you see it and go, yeah, that makes sense? I'm just curious because this is such a proud program. And it's got to get turned around really quickly. We get into a lot more of what John said. We got Williams-Brice stuff to get to, some other things around the bigs. 803-404-6100 is the postgame show. For a lot of you this weekend, you'll be getting out of town, maybe heading up to the lake and enjoy a little R&R, maybe up to the mountains, over to the beach. For some, you may be home and with an extra day for the holiday on Monday, maybe getting a lot of yard work done. Stop in and see Cato's at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. I've likened Cato's to a tailor when it comes to clothing, all right? You can buy off the rack at a big box store, and you might look good. But is anybody in there really able to help you with what you like and exactly what you need? Yeah, but if you go to a tailor, hey, that thing is, boom, perfect, right? Same thing at Cato's. You can go to a big box store. I need a lawnmower. I need a chainsaw. I need a trimmer. I need a blower. But when you go to Cato's, you can pick it up, feel it, and they have experts to take you through the entire process. I love all my brand new Toro equipment that I've gotten from Cato's. Makes my yard work a whole lot more efficient. CatosPowerEquipment.com. Family owned since 1983. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. Check out Cato's. Twenty minutes after 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all. Jay and Elijah with you. Again, yours truly back in the saddle after a couple of days away. Thanks again to Elijah Campbell. I just gave him a salute.
Saluted right back.
Appreciate you. How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Good. Plans for the weekend?
I'm making a trip to Jamestown. Mira and I are going to go see my dad.
That's Jamestown, Tennessee, not South Carolina.
Yes. There's a Jamestown in South Carolina.
There is.
Did not know that.
Down Berkeley County, right? Or you would.
Huh.
I think Jamestown's in Berkeley County.
Interesting. There's a Jamestown in almost every state.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Jamestown, South Carolina is in Berkeley County.
No, we're
Not
going
too far. Not too far from Monk's Corner and the Hellhole Swamp area. Real place.
The Hellhole Swamp area?
Yes. Hellhole Swamp.
It sounds dangerous.
Hellhole Swamp is real.
Which is why I went to go see it.
Yeah. I think they actually do you know at all the Marvel comic character Swamp Thing?
I don't. Not familiar with Swamp Thing.
They made a movie about Swamp Thing back in the 80s, I think, and did some of the filming for the swamp portion, at least, down that way.
That's a really good place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they looked around like, what's the swampiest swamp we can find? Well, this one's called Hellhole.
I don't even need to see a picture. Get us there right now. I just got done reading Swamp Fox about Francis Marion. Biography. Great book. Yeah. But not familiar with Hellhole.
Yeah. Hey, head down there. I've been through there a few times.
I never thought I'd have anybody recommend to me going to a place with Hellhole in the title, but I'm automatically intrigued.
I can only imagine what it must have been like when they named it.
Probably not fun.
You know what I mean?
Or it's like a Greenland, Iceland thing where you name it something that it's not so people don't go.
Nope. I don't think so, man. I bet you back in the day, snakes, gators, Lord knows what else.
Probably a lot of fatalities.
Still a lot of snakes and gators down there, too.
I don't like snakes. So you know what? Maybe I'm not making the trip.
Yeah. We're talking a lot of baseball today. Again, our good friend John Whittle of the Big Spur with a really long expose might be one word to place upon what John did. Report, I think
the scenes look.
Report is just too plain. I think it's more than that. Speaking of sports on the diamond real quick, South Carolina about has this one wrapped up. The Gamecocks lead UCLA 9-2. Top 7. Nobody out yet for the Bruins, but a 1-2 count. Could have an out here in just a second. Nope, still 1-2 on a foul ball. But this would be it, 7th inning. So Gamecocks and Bruins, game 1 of a super regional. Game 2 will be tomorrow here in Columbia at 1 o'clock. But South Carolina in firm control at this point, so it will take one heck of a comeback by UCLA to get it done.
Text on the text line does confirm Jamestown, South Carolina, Berkeley County, population 72.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But my uncle used to have a place down that way, and Jamestown was like the nearest outpost back in the day. Let's get to Price. He wants to weigh in on what we're talking about, and we'll get into some other details on what John had to say. But Price, how you doing on this Friday?
Doing pretty good. Lady softball team's got some good news. Actually gives us, a spring sport to enjoy. But I've never seen so much in a coach's first year. Like with a program like us, obviously, there's expectations to win in the first year. But more than anything else, you have to win the locker room and build a culture. And for what it sounds like with Whittle, it's just the exact opposite. For a reporter who knows that his access can be cut off, and for all that, for talking about the team and the manner he did. That sounds like it's almost pure desperation, like he's in the, can't hold his breath any longer and to see something, say something.
Yeah.
Not to mention, everyone, our main concern with Maneri's buyout, but, there's $350 million going to a stadium renovation right now, which, it's about time. I love what we're going to see what we do with the stadium, but it's really, really confusing to me how you can gather up that type of money for stadium renovations where we can't find $7 million to put out an absolute, disaster going on right now.
Yeah, thanks, Price, for the phone call. Look, two different scenarios, but I see your overall point, and because they'll borrow the bulk of the money that they need for the stadium renovation. But I mean, look, Carolina has the money. The difference is it money that it's not about want. You never want to have to buy out an entire coaching staff.
I don't want to spend more money than I have to already.
Yeah, you don't want to. But as we've talked about over the last month or so, this becomes a conundrum for Jeremiah Donati. Can you afford to? One hand. Can you afford not to? on the other hand. South Carolina last year sold a little over 6,000 season tickets. I don't have any doubt that if everything remains in place going into the 2026 campaign, that South Carolina will still sell a lot of season tickets before a pitch is ever thrown. But I also believe that number might go down. And we talked a lot about stadium environment. Again, you don't build a stadium that holds 9,000 people to hold 900 people. And when your final two home series were against Florida and Louisiana State, which used to be two of the biggest series, not just that you, South Carolina, would play annually, but two of the biggest that would be seen annually across the entire Southeastern Conference. And to have the attendance be so poor, or to have LSU fans not overrun the building, because they didn't, but at least LSU fans to be so well heard. Yeah, I likened it, as I said, in some way, not apples to apples, to Darren Horns last year at Carolina, when Ohio State and then later Kentucky really did overrun the gym. Ohio State, not to nearly the degree that UK fans did. I'm telling you, again, the Kentucky fans that did it that day, that was the final straw. I don't know that what LSU fans did, and it's just coincidence that it happens to be Paul's old school. That's not the same. But it's still telling that, and again, Elijah, you told us you were there for one of those games, whole ballpark, maybe a third full, and of the fans that were there, half of them were LSU fans, give or take. Mm-hmm. Give or take.
I mean, it felt like a 50-50 split. Yeah. Sometimes it felt louder when LSU did something.
Yeah.
They did more
because they did more. They did
stuff. They did more stuff.
They did stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, and I know Carolina won a game. That's good that Carolina won a game. It is. It is. But Price, to come back to your point again, I don't want to directly equate, the where you get the money from. Look, if you wanted to pull a little money here and there from some of the money you're borrowing for the football stadium, could you get it done? Sure, but that's just not how it's going to work. But they've got, if they felt that they needed to spend the money, then they can spend the money. They have the money. It's a matter of how you're efficient with your money, and every school has to do that. Even Ohio State and Texas have to be efficient with their money. So, I from everything we hear, this staff is going to return intact next year. And, kudos for those who asked Paul the other day if Terry Rooney might be replaced. And Paul, I guess, was pretty emphatic in saying, no, it feels like they're a package deal. But, boy, when you read some of the things that John Whittle had to say in his piece about how people feel about Terry Rooney, or even some type of, dare I say, almost fear of Terry Rooney, I don't know how healthy that is. That would be a concern if I'm a recruit or a recruit's parents thinking about, well, gee whiz. And, again, I come back, Elijah, to the guy doing the reporting is someone who knows what he's talking about.
If John Whittle tells me there's toxicity within the program, I believe there is toxicity. Yeah. It's a strong word to use.
I'm putting on a hazmat suit.
He's got enough information in there to make you think a hazmat suit might be required.
Yeah. 2 out, 1 on, UCLA, top 7. Again, this final out gets it done for the Gamecocks, so we'll keep you updated on that. 803-404-6100. Sit tight. Those of you on the phones, you're on the other side. It's the Postgame Show. Integrated media, the best way to watch whatever you like to watch and do it better, or listen to what you listen to even better, or secure your home even better. You get the idea here, because it's not just home theater, it's home technology. They can really integrate, as we like to say, so much of what you do in your home right into one app on your phone. Your AV system, lights, thermostat, security. You know exactly what's going on all the time. Listen, this weekend, it's going to be spectacular. And if you're going to be out back around the pool or the back patio, the deck, maybe doing some burgers and steaks and dogs or whatever, how about also watching whatever you want to watch? All right, you can do it outdoors with an amazing outdoor home theater system that looks and sounds just like the indoors. Any and all of those things on your list? Call Integrated Media. They make house calls, 803-948-8327. Love what they've done for me. I promise you will too. That's my good friends at Integrated Media. Talking the state of affairs of Carolina baseball, this on the heels of our good friend John Whittle's report yesterday at thebigspur.com outlining so many problems that were occurring within the Gamecock program during the 2025 season. Welcome back in, Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. First, let me update you. It has gone final. South Carolina softball, the 8 seed nationally, beats 9 seed UCLA over at Beckham Field, 9-2.
Massive.
The final score today. Yeah, big win, big win. They'll do it again tomorrow. Switch roles. Obviously, the field is the same. UCLA will be the home team tomorrow. That's how supers work, which I like. Sadly, I think they still coin flip if there's a game 3, which is
dumb.
Dumb.
Because if you have home field advantage, you should be the home team.
If there's a game that's do or die or whatever, then the home team, the host, should be the home team, and it does matter. Yeah, I remember an NCAA person telling me one time with Carolina in a super years ago. Well, we don't really see it that way. The advantage is that you're in front of your crowd. I'm like, oh, that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
In every other sport, yeah, that is the appeal. But in baseball and softball, it's a little different because there are rules within the structure of the game that inherently gives the home team an advantage.
But remember, this is the same group that wanted to take me out to the ball game at the end of the 6th and before the top of the 7th because it was more fair.
How is that?
I don't know. I never. Yeah, they're like, well, if we play it in the middle, then the home team is getting. It's just too. I'm like, what? And again, people are paid to sit around the table somewhere and come up with this crap.
It's really funny. I just, foolish for me to forget of all the World Series documentaries that I've seen in my lifetime where, the greats like, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth probably even said it a couple times too, Reggie Jackson, talking about, what, we were down and out in the World Series. We heard "Take Me Out" to the ball game right before he went up to bat, and that changed everything. How could I forget that? That's on me. That's on me. And that has won a lot of teams the World Series because of that beautiful tune.
Walter was on the phone, couldn't hang on, but Elijah says that Walter wanted to know about, Monty Lee in this story. And honestly, Walter, the only time that Monty was mentioned was what we talked about a minute ago, as John put it, and the thing is so long, I got to go back and find it. But basically, the instance of Ethan Petrie having his scouting report taken from him was apparently, at least in that particular game, the printed scouting report that Monty held on to in the dugout while he was coaching. So that's, as far as I can remember, the only real mention of Coach Lee.
Yeah, I didn't see Monty mentioned any other part in that story.
I hope, Walter, that answers your question. I think it might. I'll just leave it at that. We got a lot of texts, so Elijah and I can kind of trade back and forth here. Pete hits us on the Firehouse Subs text line. Oh, boy. It says, Jay will simply ask the question, can Paul survive this article? Yes. And likely, Pete, he will. And look, let me also make abundantly clear, at no point in this article does John Whittle call for the removal of Paul Mainieri. And even I am still... Look, if you said to me today, do you think they ought to make a change? I would say to you, they probably ought to think about it, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to rant and rave if they don't. But that comes back to again, somewhat the rhetorical question that we've been asking, like I said, for over a month. Can you afford to? Can you afford not to? It's not, everybody here knows. When I say here, everybody that follows college baseball knows that Paul is one of the better coaches that the sport's seen. That's not really up for debate. What's up for debate is the handling of the program and why there seemingly was a need to completely dismantle it when it wasn't broken. Again, when I've mentioned Darren Horn. When Darren got fired and Frank came in, it was bad. When Will Muschamp got fired, Will Muschamp got fired in the middle of the season. That tells you all you need to know. And Shane's had to come in and fix it. When Dawn came in, things were bad from the previous coaching staff. And I could go on and on with those examples. Typically, that's why you make a coaching change, right? If you fire somebody anyway. There's retirements and such. But this program was not broken. The irony is that this program was not living up to high standards, but not unrealistic standards. Again, I'm going to remind all of you, 2 years ago, a 1 seed and a host that advanced to a super regional. Last year, a disappointing May led you to be a 2 seed. But still a 2 seed.
You still participated in the postseason.
You were in the playoffs. Now you had the worst season you've ever had. I don't know that it needed to be completely deconstructed.
No.
But that seemingly is the opinion of the head coach and his number 2. But, what John gets into is, and it's interesting because I think Paul talked a lot about trying to give some of these guys that were going to be in their last season the best opportunity to win. And all the things that are in John's piece kind of run counter to that, Elijah. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes this, I think, hard for a lot of people.
Well, absolutely. And Paul was very open about this not being a rebuild project, right? I mean, he mentioned that in his opening presser a few times, right? Sure, they were, as a program, Carolina wasn't where they need to be or expect to be. It's kind of like if you're driving on the road and your GPS is like a little slow and you miss an exit. You're not where you need to be, but you're not far from where you need to be. So realistically, you can just take one more exit, come back around, and you can reroute yourself there. But instead, the solution seemed to have been to ditch the GPS, pick up an old atlas, hold it upside down, and continue going straight.
Good analogy. I don't mean to laugh. That was funny. I think that's what has people scratching their head. And like I said, too, going back to Mart, you invest so heavily in the technology to help you get ahead. And now you believe you've brought in a better level of head coach. And the resume would indicate that.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, and take anybody with that resume.
And yet you ditch a lot of what's new. And I think that's been hard for people to digest here of late. Like, why? What? Like, and then that's, look, just the TrackMan thing. And there's some sound. Do we have time? No, we don't, do we? Let me hit a break. There's so many things that John was on yesterday, right after this article came out, with Terry Ford, that is. I don't know, make sure that we say Terry, that we
specify. There are multiple
since there's a Terry Rooney being discussed, yes. But I want you to hear a couple of these things. But you mentioned the TrackMan. You talked about that yesterday. So we'll come back and let you hear what John had to say about that part from a pure baseball perspective. This is the Postgame Show. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. A happy Memorial Day weekend to all. Many of you are already in the car, probably heading, again, maybe out to Lake Murray or over to the beach or up to the mountains or wherever, just over the river and through the woods. Maybe some of you now are intrigued to go down to Hellhole Swamp in Berkeley County.
Might as well give it a shot. Now my curiosity has gotten the best of me.
I mean, in the grand scheme, man, it's a swamp. But it's just a big
I hear
area.
ogres
It's
live
a
in
big
swamps.
area of swamp, yeah. If you missed earlier, we were talking about that earlier. I'm not going to get back into the details, but just trust us, we were talking about it.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
I never saw any ogres like that, though.
Maybe you haven't looked hard enough.
That's fair. It's fair. Did see some snakes.
Because if you did see an ogre, you're going to wish you didn't.
Yeah, it's true. We're going to hear from John Whittle in a second. In fact, we have a few John Whittle cuts when he was on with Terry Ford yesterday as his Gamecock baseball expose came out. I think it's one word we could use, as we've said before. But a lot of you hitting us on the text line, and I do want to be fair to you guys, and we'll get to more in the next hour. But Elijah's picked one out here for now.
Yes, this one kind of goes back to the TrackMan discussion that we've had in terms of them ditching it. Nameless texter here, really good thought here where he says, quote, "It's fascinating in a neutral academic sort of way. I believe that success in the margins can be found by a coach/manager who just naturally intuits the rhythm of a baseball game. But I also believe we've learned the hard way that success in the margins can be found with analytics data. The two have to be married to reach the top of the sport currently."
Amen. Amen. And I will say again, for as much success as this program has had, and it's had a lot, you still are in a position where developing and getting the utmost out of the bulk of your roster is crucial at South Carolina. There were, I mean, like we said, y'all, Carolina had the gritty guys like Wingo and Morales and guys like that, and everybody has that kind of guy to blend with a future major leaguer like Christian Walker or Jackie Bradley, or Whit Merrifield or Sam Dyson. And again, that's a great blend. It's a great blend, and that's why you won championships, plural. But South Carolina may never have the deep pockets that an LSU or Texas has, or even what Florida might have had when it comes to roster construction. And that's not knocking South Carolina. It's a reality. And I think Gamecock baseball can do a better job than some Carolina sports of attracting even more supreme level talent. Dawn's team notwithstanding, because Dawn is Dawn. And, she's a rock star and goes out and recruits at that level. But you're going to have to make the most. And I told you in some ways, you don't have to be like those Oakland A's teams that were good under Billy Beane in the old Moneyball era. But that's what they did. And to the same degree, the Tampa Bay Rays became a really good baseball team through analytics. Let's find out Oakland and Tampa Bay as examples knew we don't have the budget that the Yankees or the Cubs or the Dodgers or the Giants have. We're not those teams. I do think there's a grand irony, by the way, that the Oakland Athletics were one of the smallest budgeted teams, and right across the Bay was one of the biggest budgeted teams. But that's just the reality they faced in the Bay Area, right? And so you've got to find ways. And again, I'm not trying to say that Carolina is like that, but I wouldn't say Carolina's the Yankees or Dodgers either when it comes to money. They're not, Elijah. Maybe Carolina's more like the Braves. They're really good. But, even the Braves struggle with, you want to do what you can. But, again, South Carolina, y'all, I grew up here. I'm not knocking anything. Carolina's never going to be Texas. It's just not.
Texas is what, one of the three most richest
I don't know.
athletic departments in the country?
Yeah. Them in Ohio State, who else is in there? I feel like they're just, A&M might be right there with them. But regardless, again, that's not a slam. So the point being, if you have these things at your disposal and they're proven to help, Why wouldn't you utilize it as often as possible rather than very sparingly? John talked about that. We'll get into it. We won't dwell upon this all day, I promise you. Williams-Brice Stadium enhancements were on the docket this week. We'll get into some of that for you. And there is new information around the college football playoffs, so we'll touch on that as well coming up for you. But certainly want to keep hearing from you on this Gamecock baseball story because it is a big deal. Hour 2 is coming up. Listen, it's always time really when you need to get out and just unwind from the stresses of the job or whatever else is going on in life. But maybe a little mood music to go with that relaxation would be perfect. Well, the folks at Griffin Pools and Spas and Bullfrog Spas have a fantastic opportunity for you, but you've only got a few days left to take advantage of this. Their biggest Memorial Day hot tub sale is here, and it brings you unmatched relaxation, sound, and deals. Right now, get a free premium audio system built in to your Bullfrog Spa that includes splash-proof speakers, built-in subwoofer, Bluetooth connectivity, soak, and premium sound without leaving the water. Or if you don't need that in your spa, you can take $2,500 off the price. Get into Griffin, just steps away from the Lake Murray Dam, and see for yourself what you can do with a brand new Bullfrog Spa. That's our friends at Griffin Pools and Spas. 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you all being with us wherever you might be. Downtown Columbia is clearing out. A lot of traffic when I was coming in, and not quite as trafficy typically that time of day, but I could tell that people were getting out a little early.
Heading out.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Getting out a little early. Long weekend. Enjoy it as much as possible.
I don't blame you. Yeah. But I'm back here after a couple of days in D.C./College Park.
So you're coming back into town, and then I'm leaving town.
That's right. I'll be here this weekend. And I was telling Elijah I will be, I went today and got about a little over 9-pound Boston butt.
It's a big butt.
I'll be putting that on the smoker tomorrow. Go about 10, might need a little more than 10. That's big. Might need a little more than 10 hours.
Make it a 12er.
Might. We'll see. We'll see. But probably won't eat that tomorrow. Probably. I have a method for what I think is absolutely fantastic barbecue that I make.
Sounds tried and true.
It is. Should I tell people or should I keep it a secret?
I'd say keep it a secret until they try it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you all one day. I'll tell you, but not today. Also got some wings.
Oh, I love wings.
Yeah, whole ones.
So
I want to say this.
Assuming.
I want to say this real quick because I talk about food a lot. We went to a restaurant to celebrate with my daughter. The reason I was in D.C., my oldest, she has an undergraduate and now a dual master's degree, which she just earned and graduated yesterday from the University of Maryland. So she's been in D.C. for 7 years. And for those who don't know, College Park, Maryland is it's not 10 miles from like the capital. If you're wondering, I've always said, for those of you who know Columbia, picture the State House, which is right across the street from me now. The UMD campus is about where Spring Valley High School is. It's like almost the same direction too, kind of northeast. So that's the proximity, and the dividing line would be like Decker and Park Lane. Like that's where Maryland starts. You know what I mean? Like over that way. So anyway, we were up there. I just say she's been there a while, but anyway, I come back around. We went to dinner with her. She picked the restaurant in the Adams Morgan neighborhood of Washington on Wednesday night, and it's kind of like a modern Italian place. And they had something on the menu. I've already described this to Elijah, but it was called Sicilian orange chicken. Now I'm a huge fan of like orange chicken at like Chinese restaurants and stuff like that. I love orange chicken. And free plug, by the way, orange chicken at Mio's. Any of the Mio's you go to locally. Yep. Or orange beef. Either one. Anyway, they had something on the menu called Sicilian orange chicken. And that sounded really good to me. After looking at a number of nice things, I was like, all right, that just intrigues me. And it didn't really have much of a description other than kind of what the flavor profile was going to be. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, Italian, probably, they like to flatten meats and make them all nice and perfect, and that it might be some cutlets of chicken breast or something like that, right? So comes out, y'all, it was a half a chicken. And, I mean, they took it, and if you just think of how when you, like, do your turkey or your chicken, you do a turkey at Thanksgiving, you got that puppy all propped up, 2 wings on the left and right and all that. They cut this thing right down the middle. The wing and the leg and the thigh and the breast all still attached. Clearly, it had been cooked first mostly. Then they, flash fried it at a really hot temperature. You can just tell because the crust was just so crisp.
That's when it's at its best.
Then, they put the orange sauce on it and some Italian herbs and other things. Dude. It came out as a half chicken, and at first I'm like, it's daunting, And then you just take your fork and your knife, and I just started shredding. I hope I had good manners.
I would not have, no.
I wanted to just pick it up and start eating.
You should have.
And Mrs. Phillips at that point, might have poked me with her own fork and be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
That's when you have a bottle of. Do you see this thing? Do you see this?
If I'd been at home, that's exactly what I'd have broken it and just started Fred Flintstone in that thing, man.
I'd have eaten that thing like a Neanderthal.
But that thing was good. Now I want to do that. I don't fry a lot. frying at the house is messy, and then your house smells, and then you got to dump the oil somewhere, and you can't use it again. They say you can, but you shouldn't probably. Maybe you can like one. But
That's
then
why that's why you keep an empty jar underneath.
yeah,
the
but you
sink.
got to filter it. Yeah, you got that gunk in the bottom. I don't want to do all that.
Well, then when the jar fills up, you throw it away.
I don't know.
Safe place to store it.
Yeah. My grandmother, my great grandmother, my mother, they all used to. My Aunt Kat, they used to all like fry some chicken and all that. But I just, man, go to Bernie's, go to Publix.
Publix does it very well.
You know, just get you some chicken. But I just don't fry a lot. But that thing was so good. And my daughter's boyfriend got the same thing. He felt the same way. He was like, "Oh my god, we got to have." So basically, they just got us one chicken and
Yes,
just
that
split.
one. Yeah, one chicken was sacrificed
But it was
for
good.
the two of you.
It was good. Congratulations to South Carolina's softball team. Game 1 is in the books.
One win away.
A 9-2 final score today over number 9 seed UCLA. The Gamecocks, the host, are the 8. They will do it again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Should South Carolina win, they advance to the College World Series in Oklahoma City. If UCLA wins, there will be a Game 3 on Sunday at Beckham Field. We still don't have a time.
That'd be of Mickey Mouse's choosing.
Yes, I think Mickey will get together with Donald, Goofy, the crew, and see who's still standing.
Yes. And stagger game 3s as
That's
they
right.
see necessary.
So
I hear Goofy is a big Florida State alum. So, if Florida State, Texas Tech ends up going 3.
By the way, you probably did, but there are, of the super regionals, there are 3 super regionals that are all SEC.
Uh-huh. Helps when you get to add Texas. Well, Texas is playing Clemson, but Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's got Alabama.
They do.
And it helps when you get, the most dominant program in the history of the sport.
That's right.
On board.
So Bama is at Oklahoma. Georgia is at Florida. In fact, I'll give you some results here real quick. Actually, Bama-Oklahoma game 1 starts in about an hour in Norman. Florida beat Georgia today 6-1. So Florida is up 1-0. Mississippi is at Arkansas. Ole Miss wins on the road, Elijah Campbell.
Stealing one.
9-7. They lead 1-0. So those are your 3 all SEC supers. Again, Carolina has beaten UCLA. Now, last night, Clemson, Texas started. And
Had a lightning delay, like 2 pitches in.
yeah, and Clemson won that game. Tennessee is hosting Nebraska. That 7 o'clock game 1.
Don't tell Matt Rule.
And so there you go. But 3 all SEC affairs. So there will be at least 3 Southeastern Conference teams in the 8-team field that starts next week in OKC. So there you go. Speaking of OKC, basketball team's doing all right.
Yeah. It's a great time to be in Oklahoma City because you got the Women's College World Series coming up and Thunder are going to be in the finals.
Looks like it, right? I mean, I suppose Minnesota could win 2 at home and turn this thing into something. But if there's even a split in the Twin Cities,
it's over.
I don't
They're not
like their
winning.
chances.
They're not winning at OKC. The Thunder are just too good defensively, man. Way too good defensively. And even on the East side, I don't know if either Pacers or Knicks could beat the Thunder right now.
So Tyrese Halliburton got to do the classic Reggie Miller choke as they won in overtime the other night. How surprised were you that Indiana won that game?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And Elijah versus the internet. I did take the Pacers to cover. I thought it'd be a pretty close game just because of how both those teams just playing a lot of close games, right? And the Pacers are comeback artists. So what they did the other night shouldn't be so surprising. It's the manner in which it happened. And then, of course, the theatrics of Reggie Miller also being courtside on the call for the game. In the same arena, he did the choke sign to Spike Lee after another comeback. History kind of repeated itself in a very comical way.
Game 2 tonight in that one. New York better win.
Oh, if they don't, they're in big trouble. I think they're already in some trouble. That Pacers team's a lot better than anybody ever wanted to give them credit for.
Yeah. Kind of nondescript, but just they play good team basketball.
Porter Gowd legend Aaron Nesmith went 8 for 9 from 3 in that game.
That's crazy.
8 for 9. Hit 5 straight in like a minute and a half stretch. Insane.
I want to get to. Can we get to number 8 on the cut list, please, sir?
Yes.
We've been talking a lot about the Carolina baseball situation. Again, those just tuning in, John Whittle of the Big Spur with a very long, very detailed look at so much of what went wrong, and really the most historically bad season that South Carolina has had in baseball in modern memory, and that's a fact, not an opinion. But part of it was just the analytical, the underutilization of the analytical equipment that Carolina has. And one of it is TrackMan, which for those of you know, it just is a system that literally tracks the ball, spin rates, and all kinds of. I won't bore you with the details, but it's very popular, and Carolina spent a lot of money to have the system installed. Here's John with Terry Ford earlier on just how Carolina and under Paul Maneri and Terry Rooney aren't using it.
Yeah, and this is standard now and has been for close to 10 years. Maybe not quite long, but it's been very prevalent for 10 years and standard. The last half a dozen. TrackMan is used by pitchers and hitters all the time. We get the home run distances tweeted out immediately. I mean, that's TrackMan technology that's being used. Your spin rate, your exit velo, your velocities, like everything can be measured by that. And, it's something that provides immediate feedback for, and it's very useful for hitters. It's imperative for pitchers to be able to get that instant feedback. And, it's something that they are not using in bullpen work, which is really when you need to use it most. Now, I won't say it was never used, but it was rarely used. And that's when you need it most. You get instant feedback on what a pitch is doing for you. If you've been struggling with something, it provides that instant analysis, and you can get that real-time information and make tweaks to what you're doing. That was not being used. Now TrackMan's used during games, and they get reports afterwards on what happened in that game. But it's not being utilized near to the degree. And Wake Forest made waves back when they were making their run and doing their thing with having their pitching lab, and South Carolina went out and got that technology, and that's in addition to TrackMan, and that has hardly been utilized at all. That's only been fired up twice this season, and the first time was just to get baseline reports when players got here. So you have all these tools to use, and you're not using them to their full extent or anywhere near capacity, and it hurts the players in their development.
John wrote, and that was John Whittle on with Terry Ford on the halftime show. John wrote in his piece in that section, because there's several sections that he dealt with. I'll read verbatim here. Players are often looking for pitching labs for their college baseball experience. South Carolina has one, but it's collecting dust. And even TrackMan is being vastly underutilized. The players have the tools to bring success, but they're not being used. South Carolina has a whiz in Chris Gordon, director of analytics, who has been at Duke in Texas and can find another job at a major program with the snap of his fingers, but he's been handcuffed as pitching coach Terry Rooney keeps the pitchers out of Gordon's office. John continues, multiple people within the program have expressed that Rooney is very territorial when it comes to providing instruction or feedback. It is the opinion of multiple people within the program that Rooney doesn't understand the data the systems provide and doesn't know how to help players improve with its usage. That's from John Whittle, the Big Spur. Again, what extremes, too, for a guy like Chris Gordon? Texas, again, mighty Texas. What do we need? Let's go get it. Or Duke, where Chris Pollard has, like Tom Walter at Wake Forest, at a very small but proud ACC school, turned them into, I won't say a power, although...
But a contender.
But a contender, absolutely. Yeah. And Wake has been to the World Series under Tom Walter.
They went to a championship series.
They advanced to a title series. And Tom's a hell of a coach. I'll remind everybody that Tom Walter wanted the South Carolina job. But he didn't get it. So there's part of what John had to say. We're going to come back around to some of this in just a little bit. College football playoff is changing in 2025. How much? We'll discuss it when the postgame show returns. Guys not feeling like yourself as you're getting older, just things not working like they used to, whether it's in the brain, in the bedroom, in the office, in the weight room, wondering why. Don't wait for it to change or go away. Instead, go see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. A one-on-one consultation will get to the root of the issue and get you back to feeling like you used to. No such thing as one-size-fits-all treatment. There's no magic pills. These are medical professionals dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. Dan and his team have been doing it for years, and they have gotten proven results. So don't be the guy that's embarrassed. Don't be the guy that thinks it'll just go away. That's not how these things work in life. Call 803-875-MENS. Set up that consultation. And right now, if you want to learn more, go to themensclinicsc.com and see what they can do for folks. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. Go see the Men's Clinic. Twenty minutes after 4 o'clock on this Friday. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. A little Jay or nay later on.
First one in a couple days.
A return to Jay versus the internet. By the way, while I was gone, I went like 12-0 against the internet and various things that I came up with.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there are screenshots that exist that prove it.
Just include those with my totals, and things are great.
Hey, Dwight Howard was like a 90% free throw shooter in practice.
I bet he wasn't.
That was the story. The story always was that Dwight Howard would stay after and practice free throws. That was I think I heard that from Amin El Hassan in a radio show once where he was talking to, like Magic execs, and they're like, he makes free throws in practice all the time. He gets out there in the game, and he's bricking them.
What was his career free throw percentage? Probably like 60.
Let's see. I can pull that up really quick. I'm about willing to bet it was probably 57.
By the way, Mississippi and Arkansas in the quarterfinals, just getting started over in Hoover. Literally first inning. Ole Miss is the visitor. They scored 5 at the top of the first.
Woo!
So Arkansas has some work to do.
Oh, Dwight Howard's career free throw shooting percentage, 56.7.
That was close.
That was very close.
That's close.
I was only 0.3 of a percentage point off.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, I said 60. I just rounded it up. See,
You rounded.
I'm not all specific like you. That's the difference.
That's how you win these games. Yeah,
that's right.
That's how you win the guessing games.
Analytics,
getting incredibly specific. It's analytics, because analytics can be a tool for your success if you use it correctly. I used analytics and my gut, and guess what? We got a good result.
You win. I'm out. That's it. I can't compete. College football play. We will get back into some Gamecock baseball stuff. I know some of you have sent texts in. I do want to move into some of the other things that are going on. We want to talk about the enhancements at Williams-Brice coming up a little bit later on as well, for those of you who may have missed that story yesterday. But the folks that run the college football playoff, that is the 10 conference commissioners plus Notre Dame's athletics director. Is it Kurt Bavacqua? Is that right?
That sounds right to me.
Not Pete Bavacqua, but Kurt Bavacqua. Anyway, they voted unanimously, because that's what you have to do right now. Anything that's going to change this coming season had to be done unanimously. And they've decided to go to a straight seeding model. Last year, remember, in the first 12-school iteration, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions became the top 4 seeds in the tournament. And that got Boise State and Arizona State top 4 seeds when they otherwise would not have been. So here's what it would have looked like. Oregon would have still been number 1, and Georgia would have still been number 2. But then Texas would have been the 3. I think that was where Boise was.
Mm-hmm.
And Penn State would have been the 4. That's where Arizona State was. So it would have looked like this. The 5-12 game would have been Notre Dame hosting Clemson. The 8-9 game would have been Indiana hosting Boise. The 6-11 game would have been Ohio State hosting Arizona State. And the one that's the biggest difference, well, 2, I guess, because Indiana had to go on the road as well. So Indiana would have gotten a home game, and Tennessee would have gotten a home game. They would have hosted number 10 SMU. And then you could have potentially seen, let's just say the home teams all win. You would have gotten the Tennessee-Georgia rematch. You'd have gotten Texas hosting Ohio State. You'd have had Indiana going to Oregon. They did not see one another in Big Ten play, right?
Would just be absurd, it'd be the most modern-day college football thing for a school from Indiana and a school from Oregon to play each other in the first time in a year when they're in the same conference in the college football playoff, because the league's too damn big.
And then you would have had Notre Dame go to Penn State. Again, assuming that all the home teams were to have won. And last year, I guess I could see Clemson winning at Notre Dame, but not probably not.
Probably not. That Notre Dame defense was so.
Yeah, and really, maybe SMU could have given Tennessee a little run, maybe.
And if Nico wasn't necessarily playing his best at the end of the year,
and I don't know.
He's probably thinking about contract negotiations after. Maybe his focus wouldn't be there. Maybe I wouldn't rule it out. They played bad enough at Ohio State that I wouldn't rule out SMU beating them in their own.
Could Ashton GT have gone to Bloomington and run all over the Hoosiers?
Absolutely.
Who knows? Same thing with Cam Scatterbo. Could he have gone to Columbia? No.
Nah, nobody ran all over Ohio State.
No.
Ohio State ran over Ohio State a couple times last year.
So, again, a couple of things there could have been different, but this is the better way to do it. And one of the reasons they did what they did because we had somebody ask us just the other day, like, why didn't they just do this to begin with? Which is a great question. They wanted to make sure that winning your conference was a big deal. That's what they wanted. They just wanted to make sure that was going to be rewarded properly. And I think once they realized that it could be, and they're still going to keep a bonus. So you're going to get, let me go back and make sure I'm right about this, but they get a $4 million bonus as a conference champion for winning. The group agreed to maintain, this is from Heather Dinich, the group agreed to maintain the $8 million financial commitment to the 4 highest ranked conference champions. $4 million for reaching the playoff and $4 million for reaching the quarterfinals. So that it's there. If you make it, you're going to get that extra $4 million if you're the conference champ. Now, if you're a conference champ that doesn't make the top 4, and you don't get an extra $4 million.
Fair compromise.
Yeah, and the head of the I'm sorry, I'm looking here at a couple of different things here. The head of the CFP, Rich Clark, says of that $8 million deal, quote, that was the commissioner's way of, at least for this year, holding to the commitment they have made financially to those teams, those conference champions in particular, that would have been paid those amounts under the former system that we used last year. So, look, this is the right thing to do. And I still think in 26 and beyond, we go to 16 and we have more home games.
This is so much more straightforward, too, in terms of explaining this, because Alan and I talked about this yesterday, too. How annoying was it every time ESPN talked about the college football playoff, we had to have like a 5-minute long refresher on how the playoff worked. Right? Like, and normally you read through something a couple times, you understand it after a couple times of watching it, but they'd show the same one over and over and over again. And you spent about the first 7 or 8 minutes of, the ranking shows just going over once again how the playoff worked. We don't have to do that now.
I think they did that just so they could fill time, Elijah, because they didn't have anything else to talk about. So, let's take the first 2-3 minutes and let's do that.
Yeah, there's not enough debate with this already. I think they just needed to do something.
Arkansas has put one back on the board, 5-1 in the first inning. So we got still got a long way to go, but that's a quarterfinal. We'll get you updated with the bracket and the drive around the SEC coming up a little bit later on. All right, come back on the other side, a little bit more college football news to get to. Stuart Mandel's, what do we call this one now? Not way too early. It's not really even an early. What is this? Just a post-spring? How do you want me to label? I think he called it a post-spring.
It's too early. I want to say the rules here are it's too early until you get to media days.
Yeah.
Then it's just right. That porridge is not too hot or cold. It is just right.
We'll do that for you. And President Trump has made a temporary decision on his new College Sports Commission. We'll tell you about that as well when the postgame show returns.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with many accidents to get to you that are causing some issues out on the roadways. Starting with an accident that's got the two left lanes completely blocked on 20 westbound. That's at Broad River Road near exit 65. We also have an accident that's got the left lane specifically blocked on 26 westbound at Old Sandy Run Road near exit 125. Other accidents at Harbison Boulevard near St. Andrews Road, Hugh G. Street near Blossom Street, Highway 6 near Highway 602 and Platte Springs Road, I-20 eastbound before US 1 and exit 58. A pair of them on 77 southbound, one at exit 16, the other at exit 15. Lady Street at Hugh G. Street, Main Street at Ridgeway Road, and Two Notch Road at North Grampian Hills Road.
Talking some off-season college football, just made mention of the new seeding that has been approved for this year's college football playoff. Again, going to straight seeding, 1 through 12. Still going to have spots for the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, but they will not be guaranteed, 4 of them at least, to be the top 4 seeds in the tournament. It'll be the final ranking of the College Football Playoff Committee that determines the seeding. And they'll figure out, if you're not a part of the top 12, where exactly you fit. Because I guess last year, Clemson and Arizona State and Southern Methodist were not ranked in the top 12. Boise was, right?
Yes.
Boise was.
They were
like 9
or 11.
They were ranked,
yeah.
or I
9
forget.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think they were. But Clemson and Arizona State and SMU were not a part of the top 12 in the rankings. But they doesn't matter. They'll get in no matter what. They'll just change things up. All right, couple of things to get to. First, the Athletics' Justin Williams and Sam Kahn, along with Chris Vanini, reporting last night that the White House says for now a presidential commission on college sports will not be named. This may be because Nick Saban says we don't need a commission. This may be because hopefully the government has bigger things to worry about than a commission on college sports. But in the Athletic, they say the commission will be paused indefinitely as members of Congress continue to pursue legislation in hopes of addressing major issues facing college sports. There is no definitive timetable for when the commission could resume, but planning and coordinating could continue in the interim. So we'll see what happens. We don't need a commission. Again, there's enough smart people, ironically, I hope, within the ranks of academia to come up with something on their own and fix it on their own.
Especially if it's a mess they created.
Let me recommend collective bargaining. That hasn't come up much.
We never bring it up.
But maybe including, the one half of the equation here that is performing on the field, on the court, in the pool, on the diamond, wherever,
on the
track. Something, man. On the ice.
The pitch.
The
Quidditch pitch.
They don't play Quidditch in the NCAA. It's a club sport.
For now.
It's a club sport. Hey, listen, one day when we're dead, they can get one of those little, the golden snitch? Snitch.
Yeah.
To actually fly around and do whatever.
Terrible flaw, though. A very flawed sport. I don't think, one element of the sport should completely, win you a game if you're trailing by a lot.
Yeah.
That's my biggest gripe with it.
Between that and a broom, I look forward to the day. I won't be here. But I still look forward with hope to the day when Quidditch is able to be played.
Like real with flying.
Yeah. With everybody can fly. I think that'd be fantastic.
I think the Jetsons would have projected us to be here by now, but.
Well, dude, you seen 2001? Or the follow-up 2010? Didn't quite.
No, not the same.
Didn't quite come around.
Moral of the story, humans are bad at predicting things.
or just nobody cared. Like, you don't need to try all that.
A little extra.
We got cars with tires. They're running fine. I don't need to fly. I would like a flying car.
I'd be too scared to do it.
And don't tell me, Jay, we have planes. No, I want a flying car.
Like you want to turn your car on and then just.
Yeah, I do want George Jetson. I love the Jetsons when he's in a traffic jam, It's like, dude, it's the sky. He's like he's all trying to maneuver through. I'm like, well, you just veer off and go, man. But then I guess you'd run into people. So at least they had order in the Jetsons' day, which is good.
They did, yeah. Some type of air traffic control.
Order matters. Order matters. So anyway, no presidential commission. We do, however, have Stuart Mandel's top 25. You want me to go 1 through 25 or 25 through 1?
Let's go 25 to 1.
25 through 1, says Elijah. Do I have time to do that? Okay, I do. Okay. Stuart Mandel says number 25, Kansas State.
Very nice.
Now, he's put one out already in the spring. So you want me to give you the previous as well?
No.
Okay.
That was then. This is now.
Okay. Number 24, Auburn. 23, Louisville. Or Louisville, your choice.
Louisville.
Number 22, Boise State. 21, Baylor. Is Baylor going to be good?
I don't know how good they can be, but they do have one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. That's going to help a lot. Sawyer Robertson.
Yeah.
He can swing. He can swing it.
Number 20, Michigan. A little low.
It's their starting quarterback's going to be a true freshman, so it's a lot to put on him.
19, Texas Tech. 18.
That sounds right. I actually like Texas Tech.
18, Indiana. You think Indiana finishes the season ranked, Elijah Campbell?
I need to see the schedule. If it mirrors what last year's was, if they do what the SEC did and just flip-flopped the location, same conference schedules, flipping it, yeah, they'll finish inside the top 20.
Do we have schedules already?
Let me check. For the Indy, I'm sure we do.
Yeah, I guess we do. No, here, you know what? I've got it. Don't worry. No, I did have it. There we go. I got you. We got Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State to start. Well, you better be 3-0. Although
Larry Bird ain't walking through that
I could
door.
see Old Dominion. Old Dominion pushed Carolina, man.
And then proceeded to win 3 games after that.
Yeah. Then they host Illinois.
That'll be tough.
Yeah.
Iowa,
go to Iowa.
Oregon.
Go to Oregon. So they do have a different schedule.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know, man.
Nope, I don't think so. They got Penn State too.
Host Michigan State, host UCLA, go to Maryland, go to Penn State, host Wisconsin, finish with obviously Purdue. 1, 2, 3.
I count 8 wins. They can get you in the top 25.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think 1, 2, 3. I don't know, man. I'm looking at 7 and 5.
I'll go 7.5 because I think Wisconsin can be a toss-up.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I think they lose to Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, and Wisconsin. Yeah, 7 and 5.
And if they're 7-5, yeah.
But I'll give maybe 8 and 4. You're right. We'll see. Anyway, so they're number 18. Number 17, South Carolina.
Very nice.
Stewart says Lenore Sellers should be one of the stars of the sport after a breakout redshirt freshman season. Freshman wide receiver Malik Clark could become one of his targets. Gamecocks lost a lot from last year's dominant D-line, but Coach Shane Beamer got help on the interior with Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy and Troy Pikes. NC State's Brandon Cisse will help in the secondary. Number 17, South Carolina.
Yeah, I don't worry about the secondary at all.
Number 16, Illinois. Gamecocks saw them last year. It was a good game. 15, A&M. 14, Oklahoma. I'll ask you the same question I just asked you about Indiana, Elijah Campbell. Does Oklahoma finish the season in the top 25?
Nope.
If Oklahoma doesn't finish the season in the top 25, does Brent Venables still coach Oklahoma?
Shouldn't. But they signed him to an extension, so I don't know how feasible it's going to be. I know they'll probably find the money to be able to do it if they need to, but
they have the money. They got a lot of money out there. And if not, just go drill a new oil well. There's money out there somewhere. 13, BYU. 12, Florida. A lot of hype.
A whole lot. And I don't know if they're top 15 good. Maybe.
Number 12.
Flagway's good, but Yeah,
11, Arizona State. That's the one that worries me. Arizona State and Indiana worry me because I like Scatterboom. I mean, I like what Levitt does, and I think that listen. I like Kenny Dillingham, man, and I'm pulling for the story. I'm pulling for the story. You and I, we're here for the story.
And Kenny Dillingham's a fantastic.
It's a story. It's hard to keep doing it at that level.
Yeah, Big 12 is going to be better this year too. I think all around.
I don't know who's bad in the Big 12.
Like we're talking.
You know who's going to be bad in the Big 12? And I kind of kid when I say it, like Kansas.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati's not any good.
I don't think.
And maybe UCF's not any good.
Yeah.
And maybe Houston. Well, Houston's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I trust their coach.
Dude, I'm sorry.
I trust the coaching situation.
If you're a UCF or Cincinnati fan, I'm just telling you, there's probably a tinge of regret there. You had to do what you had to do. But yeah, okay. Minus those two. And Scott Frost, I don't see Scott Frost. Maybe. Doing it again at UCF. Maybe. All right, that's 11 through 25. I'll come back real quick with the top 10, and we have Jay or Nay. It's the postgame show. Hey, a lot of you be around the house this weekend, and a lot of folks use this weekend to make some improvements around the house, do a little spring cleaning, and you may see that you need to do a little bit more. Well, let me tell you that Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union can help you do a lot more with a home equity line of credit. You can access that line of credit over a 10-year draw. So maybe as you're sprucing up the kitchen or slapping a coat of paint into a bedroom or maybe changing out a faucet in the bathroom, you might say, man, what if we just gutted this room and started all over again? Well, Palmetto Citizens ready to help you out, and you can do it again over 10 years. So one room at a time, do it as you can afford it. You don't have to worry about one big lump sum. As a local not-for-profit, Palmetto Citizens has been doing this in the Midlands since the 1930s. So they know exactly how to help you out with any and all of your needs, and you can pay lower closing costs and application fees than you can with the big bank. If this is something that interests you, check them out right now online. Learn more at palmettocitizens.org. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of our second hour coming up. Top of the 5 headlines of the day. 5:15 more sound from our good friend John Whittle on earlier with Terry Ford on the halftime show. This after John's lengthy look inside several problems within South Carolina's baseball program this past season, an historically bad season for Carolina. So, and a lot of you, we'll get into some more of y'all's texts. If you've got more thoughts on that, 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse Subs text line. We'll do that for you in a drive around the SEC. Carolina softball has won today, game 1 of the Super Regional 9-2 final over UCLA. They'll do it again tomorrow. Flipping the roles, UCLA gets to be the home team tomorrow. Still playing at Beckham Field. They're not going to California.
That'd be a lot of air travel.
That's why I hate the 2-2-1-1-1.
So much air travel,
man. And like, wasn't Dallas going to Winnipeg or something for it? Was it Winnipeg?
And sometimes it's like you get like a day off and you have to play again.
Yeah,
that's difficult.
That's a lot, man.
But it is a more fair sporting structure for the team with home field or home court advantage.
2-3-2. It didn't bother me, but I get it. It probably. I guess it's. I don't know. Again, fair, unfair, very subjective. Anyway, we have Jay or Nay in a second. Real quick, finishing up Stuart Mandel's post-spring top 25 in college football. We've done 11 through 25. Sadly, I can't repeat them. I don't have time. But Carolina's number 17. How's that? Number 10, Alabama. Number 9, Miami. 8, Oregon. 7, Georgia. 7? I don't know. LSU 6. Notre Dame 5. Ohio State is 4. Wow, so who's the top 3 you're asking, right? Clemson, number 3. Y'all, I think that's fair. I think Clemson's going to be pretty good. Penn State, number 2. And that means that Texas is the number 1 team in the country. Still just the post-spring, so, hey, you got to go play a bunch of games. Don't sweat it too much if you didn't hear. Your Tennessee fell all the way out. He had them ranked in his way too early before spring, but after the Nico debacle, he had Tennessee falling all the way out. If you want to see it, go to theathletic.com. Stuart Mandel's post-spring top 25. So there you go. All right. Time for some Jay or Nay here. Hang on, Elijah's on the phone getting ready to have somebody want to do now? You want to wait?
Let's do it right now.
All right. Who we got? Is that John? Oh, you want to do Jay?
I
thought you were on the phone.
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you meant the phone call.
No, we ain't got time for that. Time is of the essence.
Okay.
Here.
Jay or Nay, let's do it.
If we want to hear music, we got to do this right now. All right. Jay or Nay? Ashley Chastain Woodard's 1-year turnaround this season, getting them 1 win away from the Women's College World Series, is the most impressive in Gamecock athletics history.
Oh, my.
For a first-year head coach.
Jeez, man, you put me on the spot there. Jay-ish? I'd like to go back and look at a few others. I haven't had time to study that one.
At least in modern Gamecock sports history.
As
long as you've been doing this job.
Yeah, for where they are. Yeah, Jay. For where they are, yeah.
Especially considering they were picked last in the SEC to start the season.
Yeah. So for that respect, yeah, Jay.
Jay or Nay? Tottenham finally winning a European title is the equivalent to the Browns reaching a Super Bowl.
Nay. Because the Europa League is not the Super Bowl. It's more like...
That's why I said reaching.
No. Be more like... I don't have an NFL equivalent.
The Bills.
Be more like the Wizards winning the in-season tournament.
I don't know about that. Because it is a European title.
Okay, you know what? It's like winning an NIT.
Okay.
So I can't... So just put somebody on there. Yeah, it's like winning the NIT.
All right.
Best I can do for you, man. Sorry. We have another one? Is that it?
We have a couple, but we have 25 seconds before we are sent to a commercial break.
All right. Can we play more music later then? I want to finish this up.
We can always find another place to put this in.
Okay.
We can put it in for Jay versus the Internet.
Okay. Well, we have to do that too. But yeah.
It's a busy show.
Hey, congratulations, Tottenham. really
It's a championship.
happy for her.
Congratulations, Mrs. Phillips. We did it.
She was excited.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one that's got the left lane completely blocked on 26 westbound at Old Sandy Run Road near exit 125. Pretty significant backup there. We also have accidents on Old Charleston Road at Pond Branch Road, Old Wire Road near US 21 and Charleston Highway, Park Terrace Drive at Bauer Parkway, and on Shop Road near Abbott Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Friday. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips, also the final hour of the Postgame Show. We start with South Carolina softball. At least some good news on the diamond this spring for Gamecock fans. For now, at least, South Carolina in great position. They have won game one of the Super Regional over UCLA, a 9-2 win over a very good UCLA team that won 52 games in this regular season. Sam Gress came on to pitch the second half of the ball game, got her 14th win of the year, and Brooke Blankenship had 2 hits. She among 4 Gamecocks with 2 hits today. South Carolina and UCLA will do it again tomorrow at 1 p.m. over at Beckham Field. And if South Carolina wins, they advance to the College World Series. If not, there will be a Game 3 on Sunday with a time still to be determined. Based primarily on who is still playing on Sunday and how ESPN wants to stagger start times and put them on TV or the interwebs or both. So a lot still to play for, but just do it the old-fashioned way, Elijah Campbell. Win tomorrow and don't worry about it.
Don't have to worry about it. Yeah. And I think out of the 25 runs they've scored in the postseason or post-SEC tournament, so regionals and now, I think, 19 of them have come with 2 outs? The 2-out Bandits are at it again, man. They did it again today.
Yeah.
Maybe the most clutch hitting team in the sport right now.
It's impressive to watch how good they have been. There's no question about that. By the way, the other super regionals going on, let me get you the scores if I can get the website here too. It's just kind of
super regional, just a regional with a cape.
That's right. Texas Tech is about to eliminate Florida State. It is 2-0 going to the 7th. Now, this is in Tallahassee, but Texas Tech won game 1 last night, and they are playing game 2 right now with Tech up 2-0. So this would be a major upset if FSU can't get it done.
And going into this last inning, the pitcher that's in the pitching circle has an ERA south of 1.
That's kind of scary.
It's like .86. It's stupid.
Let's see. Other final today, Florida has beaten Georgia 6-1. That one's in Gainesville. That was game 1. And Mississippi has won game 1 at Arkansas 9-7. And yes, you heard me right. That's 2 all SEC affairs. There's a third one that is starting right about now. Alabama is at Oklahoma. Last night, Clemson beat Texas. They'll play game 2 at 9 over in Austin, And Nebraska will be at Tennessee tonight. That game is at 7. And tonight at 10, Liberty, who has pulled off the biggest upset so far in this tournament by eliminating number 1 overall seed A&M in College Station, will be at Oregon for game 1. So that's what's going on in the women's Super Regionals. Again, all the winners advance to OKC for the College World Series. And again, the Gamecocks in the driver's seat with a very impressive performance. 9-2 over UCLA. All right, Braves are back at it tonight after a disappointing week in our nation's capital, losing 2 one-run games, including last night in the 10th inning. The Braves bullpen, Elijah, industry term?
I'll translate that for those not in the industry. It's bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
Losing them games.
Not good. They really are.
And it wasn't Iglesias last night.
No, my oldest, again, I was up in D.C. We did not go to a game. The only opportunity we would have had would have been Wednesday, but we didn't want to do that anyway this time because we were celebrating with my daughter who graduated from UMD with a master's degree. But her boyfriend's dad is a Nationals fan, and he asked me what was wrong with the Braves. And I said, well, it's the bullpen primarily. They're not good. And that's usually been a strength of the Atlanta Braves. Has been excellent bullpen pitching. And right now it is, again.
And then your best hitter hasn't been able to play this year. Until tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Help is on the way.
Officially earlier this afternoon, the Atlanta Braves activated Ronald Acuna Jr. from the injured list. He has not played since May 26th of last year. He had 5 games for Gwinnett. He hit .417 with a homer, 2 doubles, and the RBI. Well, that's it. So he had the solo shot. That was what he did. So he's back. Now, what does this mean instantly? Probably not a lot just yet. But I told you I had a hunch. This is when you do it. You know, you're on the road for a little bit, and then you bring him back this weekend against San Diego. By the way, Orlando Arcia was designated for assignment today. Yeah.
How far he's fallen.
I mean,
he was such a big pickup for them.
Yeah, and
not long
started.
ago.
I mean, hundreds of games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he was good for not a great hitter, but he's a solid shortstop. But you gotta make room.
Yeah, and you got to have as many guys that can hit as humanly possible.
Yeah. Acuna has been a 4-time All-Star, obviously the unanimous MVP back in 2023. So here's hoping, kids. But unfortunately, Ronald Acuna can't pitch out of the bullpen. That would help. That would help. Braves and Pods tonight, though, in Atlanta. Again, Nick Pivetta will go for San Diego. He is 5-2 with a 2.86. 50 and a third, 56 strikeouts. Chris Sale will go for Atlanta. The Cy Young winner is 2-3, but has a 3.62. 54 and 2/3, 72 strikeouts. The ESPN predictor says 63% for Atlanta. What does the EBPI say? It's a different EBPI.
I'm going to go 56% Atlanta.
That sounds
a little
about
low.
right. That sounds about right.
The same way, you know how like National League or American League teams, if you have to make the West Coast road trip, usually you end up playing a little worse than you do in your normal routine on the East Coast. I think the inverse is the same for teams like the Padres and Dodgers.
Maybe so. We'll see. But, hey, go Braves. But, again, for the Braves to have climbed all the way up the hill to get over 500, of all places, you go to Washington and lose 2 and fall back under 500 by a game. It's going to be one of those years.
Steep hill to climb.
It's going to be one of those years. By the way, I smile a little because I don't like either one of these teams, but you know who's not in first place anymore in the NL East?
The New York Mets. I'm telling you, the best thing that can happen to your season is getting to play the Colorado Rockies for 4 straight games. And that's what the Phillies got to benefit from. They went to Denver and brought their brooms with them.
Yeah, the Braves didn't take a broom to Denver. They took 2 of 3 out there. And the game they lost was 2-1, man.
That's the worst part against that pitching staff.
But the Phillies have a 2-game lead on New York in the East. Braves 7.5 back. Washington has been playing well of late. They are 9 back, and the Marlins. That's a team in Miami, kids, if you didn't know that Miami had a professional baseball team.
I still call them the Florida Marlins.
The Miami Marlins are 12 games back in the East. Braves and Padres tonight at 7:20, I believe, 7:15. No, it's tonight. After 7. NBA playoffs continue tonight in New York City with your New York Knicks down 1-0 to the Indiana Pacers. Pacers win in overtime on Wednesday. It's, look, not must win when you still have a bunch of games left, but this is like, as you and I now like to call these games, this is a you really better win game for New York.
Yeah, you don't want to dig the hole even deeper and have to go win 2 on the road. Indiana's a hostile environment, too. They play very well at Indiana.
Would you like to guess what the BPI is on this one?
I want to guess that the BPI is giving the Knicks a 72% chance.
No.
Really?
No. This surprised me a little bit. Pacers, 51.2%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
New York is a 5.5-point favorite. Indiana is plus 210 on the money line.
The computer says wrong team favored.
Yeah, but the computer says Indiana with the slight advantage. I think Indiana's going to win tonight. Is that on Jay versus the Internet?
It is.
Well, I'll just go ahead and leak that one then. I think Indiana,
because the Knicks are 5.5-point favorites.
Well then, okay. Well then, you can go ahead and put it down, man. They opened at 6.5, down to 5.5. So yeah, give me. You can go ahead and mark that one right now.
All right.
Indiana plus the points.
That's the most confident I think you've sounded in any of these picks since we started this contest.
Is there a Ronald Acuna question on there?
There is.
I kind of figured.
You knew it was coming.
I see it. I can look, and I don't look, but I kind of figured there was. I don't know what the other one is.
I haven't looked at the results yet. The polls should be closing in about 10 minutes, maybe.
All right. Last night, Oklahoma City took a 2-0 lead on Minnesota. Now it's really, really like you better win time for the T-Wolves, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you can't.
They'll
lose
get
any
one of
them.
these, right? I think they get the
I
next
think they get one of them.
I think they get the next one.
But they're not going to win one in Oklahoma City. I think this one ends in 5.
That's tomorrow
I
night.
think Oklahoma City's defensively, they've got Minnesota in a stranglehold right now.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Let's see what the percentage is on this one. Ooh, even in Minnesota, 67-33. So, Anthony Edwards better show out, man.
Better score a lot of points. Shout out SGA for scoring more than him last night.
Oklahoma City tomorrow night is a 2.5-point favorite. The T-Wolves, they're just plus 120 on the money line. So
the value tonight, or in this, these next 2 nights, Pacers money line. If you're into that,
yeah, plus 210, man. That's a good bet. I think. I don't bet.
Great. Well,
don't take my advice.
What's really funny? One of my best friends back in Tennessee, obviously sports gambling legal there. So he's on the app a lot, and we talk about
Wait, you can't gamble wherever you want to? Who's that guy I dealt with the other day? Continue your story.
Oh, well, good thing we're not being recorded or we're not live or anything.
Or if there's a camera.
Or if there's those are
I'm just kidding, cops.
SLED agents outside.
As far as you know, I didn't bet on anything.
Well, those are agents.
Nah, y'all can trust me on this one, man. Again, I like my money where it is because if you bet on it, it's going to all go somewhere else.
But what's really funny is he doesn't like betting more than like $10 on a certain thing.
Okay.
Right? So he keeps it pretty low. But every time the Pacers have trailed by more than 10 points in this playoff run, he'd put about $10 on them. He's made over 1,000.
Oh, my.
The Indiana Pacers have won him like $1,000 this year.
Nice.
By just whenever they're down 10 plus, bet on them to win.
Nice. By the way, to continue our headlines real quick, it has just gone final. Texas Tech in the softball super regionals has just eliminated Florida State in Tallahassee, winning 2-0. So
First team to punch the ticket.
Is the first one in. So
that's a dangerous team, man, because of that pitcher.
Yeah.
I pulled up her stats right now. Najiri Kennedy, ERA 0.88, WHIP 0.73. She's 29-5 coming into today, 17 complete games, 276 strikeouts, and 40 walks.
Yikes.
Oh, and she hits too. She's hit like 3 home runs in the Super Regional.
That's all right, man. That's good. Good for her.
That's pretty good.
That's our integrated media headlines of the day, 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs and so much more. Call our good friends at Integrated Media. We'll come back on the other side with more sound from our buddy John Whittle. We'll set you up for those who haven't heard a lot about what John has done, but a really detailed look at how many problems Gamecock baseball suffered in the 2025 season, an historically bad season for Gamecock baseball, and a lot of problems that John has reported on. We'll get into that, let you hear some of it when the postgame show returns. All right, welcome back in. Postgame Show. Rolling. Excuse me, I'm so emotional about this. Rolling on a Friday. Nice to be back.
There's got to be a better way to say that.
Well, probably so. But a good couple of days up in D.C./College Park, as I said earlier, but I'll say it again. Appreciate Elijah Campbell every day, but especially when I'm away. But it got busy. It happens to me a lot, man. Like, oh, okay. In this case, I did see it coming to some degree because I had gotten wind that maybe there would be some things that were, in a postseason wrap-up, and just, how something goes so wrong so quickly. You've got to find answers, and I knew that people would be on it, including our good friend John Whittle of the Big Spur. By now, many of you that are Gamecock fans have probably at least seen some reference to this, or many of you, have even read it. If not,
it's free now.
I was told that it's free now. I believe if you go to bigspur.com, it's either for free on their website right now or on their Facebook page. I'm not sure exactly. Is it on their regular website? Do you know?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. I urge you to read it. However you may feel about this baseball team, from get rid of everybody to give them another chance to stuff happens to, whatever your feelings are. And just take a look. I will tell you, I was floored by a lot of what's in here. And I can't, look, I'd love to just sit here and read it to you, but I will not do that. I will say, for those of you, I mentioned this earlier, but I do want to say this again here in the 5 o'clock hour because I said it at the top of the show. I know Elijah feels the way I do, and I know that pretty much everybody in our business feels this way, what I'm getting ready to say. And this is not a defense. This is just an explanation of the person. John Whittle is one of the finest people you will ever meet. I mean that sincerely, y'all, and I'm lucky to have met a lot of people in my life. John Whittle is a terrific, first and foremost, a terrific human being. Secondly, he's a terrific reporter. He is a tireless beat writer, and he has been, for as long as I can remember now, years and years and years and years, all of our number one go-to on Carolina baseball. All of us in this business locally, really, and across the state, and potentially beyond, because John does stuff, when he's talking to others around the SEC about Gamecock baseball. I think he is the foremost expert on South Carolina baseball. He's incredibly well-connected.
In the entire sport. Yeah. Not even just Carolina baseball.
Yeah.
Well-connected in the entire sport.
John does things in the summer where he is with some of the better select baseball teams, and he's gotten to know coaches. He sees coaches that scout, coaches that recruit. He knows players. He knows families. And they all feel the same way, too. You can get, when you get to know John, it takes like 5 minutes or less. And you're like, I like this person. This is a good dude. So I say all those things to just say, when John puts things into print the way he does, and it's as, I'm going to say it as damning as this is, because it was. I have every reason to believe virtually all of it. Now, to certain degrees, there may be some things that could be pushed back here or there, and John even admits as much in so many words in some of these things, because he says things like, again, Carolina has a lot of very expensive analytical equipment, TrackMan and some other things that do cost a lot of money. And he believes that Carolina has underutilized them, but he doesn't believe it just based on, I just don't think they've done it. No, he has spoken with several people in and around the program that are saying some of these things. There's one other that is very troubling to a lot of people, and it's hard to really describe all this, but by now, a lot of you heard about what happened to Gamecock pitcher Eddie Copper, who had some elbow issues. And long story short, was maybe rushed back when he wasn't ready. And then Coach Maneri basically said Eddie kind of just folded and bailed on the team.
Say he didn't want to come in.
Yeah. And as John has described it, that's not at all the case from Eddie's mental perspective. It's that he knows his own body. And according to John, Coach Maneri and Coach Rooney went against the advice of Eddie's surgeon when it came to getting him ramped up for duty again. And Eddie kind of did the team a solid by not going in and having complete reconstructive surgery.
Yeah, that decision was made so he can pitch
So
this
he
year.
could pitch
Yeah.
this year, and then was still misused. And they still went against the advice of his surgeon. And now Eddie's arm is damaged, and, I hope for the best for him. But, it's one thing to be injured. It's another to basically have been labeled as a quitter.
It's what Paul made it seem like with his words.
That's tough, and that's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I've spoken to a couple who have admitted to me that are in college athletics. That's the most troubling thing to them, is that you may have really, not necessarily medically, but physically at least, misused a pitcher and then blamed the pitcher. And that's troubling. Let me get to the rest of it. Where's my, I lost my cut list here, Elijah Campbell. There it is. Thank you. All right.
I like the thank you. Thank yourself.
myself.
Yeah. I mean, you found it. So, I guess if you're going to thank anybody.
I did. Number 10. This is John talking with our own Terry Ford earlier on the halftime show about sort of a severed relationship now between staff and players this season.
Yeah, I mean, I as the season went on, obviously things got more difficult to manage on both sides. I'm sure there was a lot of frustration. And listen, the antidote for bad feelings is winning games, right? Like, when losses keep piling up, everybody's getting frustrated, and that's understandable. Winning a few games, cures a lot of problems. But players were constantly being told how bad they were over there, and that kind of seeped into public commentary too. I mean, as I wrote in that story, I first pointed it out publicly during or after the Tennessee series with some of the things that were said, and went back and pointed out some things in the past that or in previous weeks that had been said that just don't resonate well in the locker room. And it continues on throughout the year, and then you're asked a softball senior day question, and just to talk nice about the group of guys who are playing their final weekend. And he said a little bit more, but he said in part, these guys may not hit 380 or hit 20 home runs or throw 95 miles an hour, but and I didn't recruit these guys, but they're my responsibility now, is what he had to say. And he said that he'll always have affection for them, and a couple of things like that. But those are the kind of things that wear on you as a player, and it creates an environment where you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel wanted, and you want to feel supported by a coach. And especially in baseball, we talk all the time. Baseball is a game of failure. You're a really good hitter if you get out only 7 out of 10 times. And a lot of baseball coaches do a lot to build you up. Now, they'll hold you accountable, but they'll try to make you feel good too, and try to keep your positive, keep some positivity happening. And that just wasn't the case around here, and that creates an environment that folks don't want to be in.
That's John Whittle on with Terry Ford. Before we say anything further, one more kind of going to maybe how Paul does things. John was asked by Terry about an old school approach.
No, I don't think you're off base with that at all. It's different ways of coaching, and the modern athlete is changed, especially from a baseball standpoint. And you have all these tools that people are looking for, that players are looking for, and you're not using, and it's going to be harmful in recruiting when folks see that these aren't being used. And I don't really understand why, but yeah, I mean he has a very old school approach with players, and the way he interacts and the way he speaks to them, and the culture and is very old school, and that's okay if you have the right guys that you that you can do that with. But I that's becoming a lot. Those players are few and far between now at this point, I feel like.
That's John Whittle of the Big Spur. Again, you can go to their website, read it. I encourage you to, whatever kind of Carolina baseball fan you are, and for a lot of the questions that you've had about how does a team go from a 1 seed in 2023 to a 2 seed in 2024 to having the worst season in the modern baseball era at South Carolina. Certainly the worst season since joining the Southeastern Conference. And one of the worst seasons in the history of a proud program. It's enlightening. John did excellent work. John is incredibly well sourced. John is incredibly well respected. So people are not scared to speak with him because they know what kind of guy he is, and so do a lot of people that used to be associated with this program. There's a lot of trust in John Whittle to tell the story the right way. So kudos to John. We'll continue a little bit of this, plus give you the drive around the SEC next.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadway, starting with an accident that's got the left lane completely blocked on 26 westbound at Old Sandy Run Road near exit 125. We also have accidents at 20 westbound at Monticello Road near exit 68, Old Charleston Road at Pond Branch Road, Old Cherokee Road near Pilgrim Church Road, Old Wire Road near US 21 and Charleston Highway, Park Terrace Drive at Bauer Parkway, and Shop Road near Abbott Road.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Friday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. A happy Memorial Day weekend to all and to all those who have gone before us to keep this country free and let guys like Elijah and me sit here and talk sports with you on a Friday.
It's a pretty cool gig. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Memorial Day is a big deal to all. And be safe out there and try to avoid all those areas that Elijah just told you, because that's a lot. There's a lot of folks coming through Columbia right now. Maybe they're heading up to the mountains or down to Charleston or some such, or over to Atlanta.
Yeah, I know my boy Craig on the YouTube stream says he's going to Greenville, so hopefully he's not caught up in that. But it seems like
I can tell you, Craig, I didn't know that Greenville was necessarily the Memorial Day destination, but I suppose things change. Is he going to Bon Secours for pickleball?
I think he was going for water aerobics.
Oh, water aerobics. Sure.
Or bingo. I've heard there's a killer bingo night. An absolute killer bingo night. And if you stay long enough, you get sticks.
If you know, you know. That's all I can say
One of the
right
greatest running bits.
If you know, you know.
On the program.
Yeah. Haney and I started that one a long time ago, and
it lives.
Very glad that Elijah has
it lives.
Picked right up on it, man. Before we do anything else, Ron wanted to weigh in on what we were discussing about John Whittle's piece at the Big Spur on what's going on, or not going on, if you will, with Carolina baseball. Hey, Ron, good afternoon.
Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. You and I have spoken several times over the years. I guess the comment I wanted to make is if people are upset about John Whittle writing an article like this, I think they need to take a step back. John, as you pointed out, is an unbelievable writer and an unbelievable person of credibility. And for someone to have the guts, really, to write an article like that when your livelihood is based on South Carolina athletics is exactly what we need. This is the kind of stuff that can't be hidden. If this is really what's going on and what happened this year, then the university needs to make a move. I mean, they can't ignore this. This baseball program has been proud for many, many years. And if we've got somebody in there who is avoiding, the latest techniques or is really behind the times, it's not going to get any better. But to blame John is ridiculous.
Well said, Ron, about John. And, I said in a tweet that I put out this morning, I don't know how this is being received yet. If I say across the street, over on campus, I know it's really more than across the street because the Rice Building's about a mile or so away, but y'all see the point. I have reached out, and I have asked for some reaction, and I know it's a long weekend. I know there are some people that are kind of scattered at this point, and I know next week the SEC meetings take place down on the Gulf in Destin, and so – yeah, I don't know what we hear. Listen, I will tell you this. It's been reported already, and I have had it verbalized to me, not just sent in text form or anything else, to not expect a coaching change. Now, if some of what we're getting now from John, look, I think all, if not the vast majority of this is true because, again, of my respect for and belief in John Whittle's abilities. So to what you said, Ron, yes, I I believe in John. But, Elijah, for the sake of the discussion, let's just say that half of this was true. It's still really bad.
Oh, man. I mean, pick a paragraph.
You know.
If even one of those is
So that's the concern, Ron. And I don't know, like I say, I don't know how this is being received. I can tell you that from cursory discussion, there was a definite acknowledgement of how bad it is in terms of what's described, at least. I won't say that how bad it is and that, yeah, we know it's this bad. I wasn't told that. But I was told that there's an understanding of what's being reported and an understanding of who's doing the reporting. Now, what that means, I don't know. But this is not a hit piece. I know some may describe it as, and you know, Elijah told me yesterday, look, you can't please everybody, and there's probably a couple of people. Well, you know, if you don't report it, then it won't matter. Well, no,
that's not how journalism.
That's not how it works.
No,
that's not how life works. Because trust me, even if there were no reporting, it's not hard for certain people to just speak in their own community, and in this case, the recruiting community, whether it's portal recruiting or high school recruiting. All these people talk. So, you know, I don't know what will come of this. I don't know if this pushes anything further to be done. Whether that being done is a change or whether that is an acknowledgement that you've got to do more with what we have. Because South Carolina does have the latest technology and capabilities to help their players get better through the science of baseball. In addition, there's nothing wrong with the old school gut approach from time to time. But as John pointed out in that soundbite we had last segment when he was on with Terry, you got to be able to do both. And again, in his piece, he discusses that in several conversations he's had that there's a belief that maybe there isn't enough of an understanding of why those things matter. Which makes you wonder what it is that you are using analytically and developmentally. Because John also points out with statistics, not just opinions, of how much worse Carolina pitchers and hitters were this year relative to last year.
It was a significant regression.
It was. The ERA was up across the board over a run a game, and in conference play, nearly 2 runs per game. And you did that math a month or so ago. And it was brutal. And then the final third of games was even more brutal.
Closer to 10 for
that's
ERA.
Just frightening, man.
That's the recipe for disaster.
It's frightening. It's the recipe for winning 6 bleeping games and what, a third of your losses being outscored mightily. And how many games did they have 10 or more scored against them? It was like 10, right? I forget. It was a lot.
It was actually a large percentage.
It was a lot. I don't have it in front of me, but it was, I mean, they had double-digit runs scored on them a few times, and they went over 20 twice. So, I mean, there's a lot of problems. Again, it's not all directly on Paul because this evolved, but at the same time, I'm going to say again, 2 years ago, a 1 seed. Last year, a 2 seed. This was not... We had a caller last week who I love, or earlier this week, actually. A guy I'm a big fan of. I've met him. He's a good dude, but he said it was a dumpster fire. No, it wasn't. This is a dumpster fire. When Darren Horn got fired, that was a dumpster fire. When Will Muschamp got fired in the middle of a season, that I'll give you and label as a dumpster fire. Being a 1 seed and a 2 seed, if you want to call that a dumpster fire relative to the expectations and hopes of Carolina baseball through the years, I get where you're coming from, but you can't tell me that a 1 seed and a 2 seed in back-to-back years is a dumpster fire.
It's like being on a road trip and your GPS on your phone kind of freezes for a bit and you miss an exit. You're not where you need to be, right? But you can quickly turn yourself around because you're not far from where the exit you're supposed to take is.
Right.
But what happened here was instead of taking that next exit, getting back around to where you need to be, We turned the GPS off, threw the phone out the car, picked up an old atlas and read it upside down, and now we're about 23 or 24 miles down the road in the opposite direction. That was more so what this appears to be.
Or when Michael Scott let his GPS drive him into a pond.
Into a pond, yeah. He just kept going straight. It says keep going straight. I'm going to go straight.
Ron, thanks for the call. And again, on what you said about John Whittle, amen, brother. Again,
Absolutely.
John Whittle, I'm telling y'all, if it matters to you or not, but John is just, he's a good dude who's not in it for the glory or anything like that. He's in it to tell you what's happening. And Ron's right. With the kind of access that John has always had with Gamecock baseball to do this tells you something. Certainly told me something. We'll get a quick, on the other side, drive around the SEC and Jay versus the internet. But Elijah's not counting all the good things I did against the internet while I was gone.
Because it didn't happen. We have no proof.
You're listening to the Postgame Show. All right, listen, you got a nice respite from the heat this weekend here in the Midlands of South Carolina. And in late May, that's a big deal. However, I hate to inform you that soon enough, it's going to get hot. And it might be time for you to call AAA Heating and Air and make sure that your system is good to go. 803-677-1500. If you don't know when you've last had your system looked at, then call AAA. Let them come inspect it. If everything's good to go, all right, hey, you're going to stay nice and cool this summer, and that's a big deal. But if not, then it might be time for something new. How about guaranteed financing, $1,500 system buyback rebate, 15-year parts and labor guarantee? Listen, we just had a brand new system put in upstairs at our house. My kids are happy, and that's really what life is all about. Make sure you're going to be happy, too. 803-677-1500. Tell them we sent you to AAA Heating and Air. All right, welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show on this Friday. A reminder that we won't be here on Monday celebrating Memorial Day. And again, thank you to the men and women of the United States military who have gone before us and kept America free. Let us enjoy all the sports that we talk about, movies we watch, everything else we're doing this weekend. So remember it while you're out there on the lake or at the beach or cooking some pig on the smoker like I'm going to be doing tomorrow.
I'll be thinking about it while I'm on the farm.
There you go. Real quick, drive around the SEC to conclude it. Last night, Vandy eliminated Oklahoma from the SEC tournament, and Tennessee beat Texas. How about that? That's a good win.
Extras.
For UT over UT. Yeah, 7-5, the final score. So tomorrow, Vandy and Tennessee in one semifinal. Right now, Mississippi leads Arkansas 5-2, bottom six. Or no, excuse me, where are we? Top six. Arkansas is the home team, but Ole Miss is up 5-2. And then tonight, A&M and LSU. So those two winners will meet the Vandy and Tennessee in the semifinal. So somebody's going to be mad.
Somebody's going to be really mad.
And somebody's going to be happy.
Those teams don't like each other.
They don't.
They're not friends.
Well, again, they almost fought the other day.
As close as you can get to those guys fighting.
That's right.
They're not going to fight.
All right, well, I'm not going to fight you over the fact that, again, I went 12-0 against the internet while I was in Washington.
Doubt that was the case, and I don't even know if you have anybody that can vouch
It
for
was
it.
11-0-1, you're right.
I don't even think anybody can vouch for that either. But now, if you're being truthful, then it should in your results here.
All right, let's see what we got.
Because right now, you're 5-13.
It's not bad.
It's not good.
If it was baseball, it'd be great.
If you're 5-4-13, yes, but this would be more like 5-18. Still,
That's still not
solid.
bad.
Yeah, but that's not how this works.
I know.
The internet is 9-9 against you.
Cheers.
They're a flat 500 against me as well.
Fixed.
All right. Knicks minus 5.5 tonight against the Pacers. You've already submitted
I have.
your pick, taking the Pacers to cover 5.5.
Giving me those points after the other day? Yes.
And the internet, with 55% of the vote,
Yeah.
Pacers plus 5.5.
All right. Way
So
to
you
go,
guys are in
internet.
agreement.
See, y'all get it right sometime.
Game 2. Well, they get it right more often than you do, I'm afraid. So they should be saying, good job, Jay. You get it right sometimes. Game 2. Oilers in Stars after the Stars erased a 2-goal deficit and won by 3. Do the Oilers tie them up tonight?
No.
Ooh, drama, because 53% of our poll says Oilers.
Ah.
So this is a big game.
Oh,
for
Earl
you.
Campbell's not playing.
No, Warren Moon. Neither.
And Warren Moon's not playing. I don't
Not
even
well.
think Wayne Gretzky's playing. So I'm going to go Stars.
Mark Messier, also not walking through that door.
And who's the great goalie? Grant Fuhr?
Yeah, Grant Fuhr. Yeah, who was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Ronald Acuna. He's back, baby. Is he going over under 1.5 hits against the Dads tonight?
Just hits?
Hits.
Under. I think he'll get a hit.
So you go under. The internet,
Under.
53% say over.
Yeah. I mean, if he does, great. I don't mind losing that one. That could be a good thing.
This is what we call the emotional hedge,
Yeah.
where you would like to gain an advantage
Yeah.
in this contest, but there's a bright side if you don't, and it's that Ronald Acuna got 2 hits.
But-
Now, it would be a bummer for him to get like 3 hits, and then they lose, and then you lose that, and
Yeah, that would be bad.
so it's not a full-on
But I like Chris Sale.
emotional hedge.
Chris Sale on the hill. Ronald's back. So I'm here. I'm here for a W.
Can
Let's
use
see.
it.
Again, y'all check out what John Whittle did. It's free right now at thebigspur.com. Good stuff. We'll, I'm sure, continue discussing these storylines over the weekend. Thanks to all of you. Again, go America. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to the men and women who have gone before us that have given their life for the United States. For Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Safe travels to you, sir. Safe travels to all of you. Please be careful out there. We'll see y'all Tuesday.